Evolving technology changing the way we live. Good evening and welcome to Faith Nation from Washington, D.C. I'm John Jessup. Well, more than 2 million passengers fly in and out of U.S. airports daily. And if you're one of them, you know getting through security can be a time-consuming hassle. From slipping off your shoes to taking out your laptop, there are a lot of steps you have to take even before you get to your gate. But advances in technology might change that, all while increasing national security. Here's Caitlin Burke with a look at what's being called the TSA of the future.
The terror attacks of September 11th meant an immediate change in air travel, but enhanced security measures evolved over time.
Unfortunately, there's continued to have events that happen. You had the underwear bomber, which changed the way we looked at people screening, and all of a sudden body scanners became the norm. You had the shoe bomber. So there's all these events that took place. And so there's a lot of a reactive approach to it.
By being proactive, however, the TSA and its partners have worked to stay ahead of potential threats.
We need to continuously be innovative, and we need to continuously come up with new methods of improving security. We have to keep coming up with new methods of doing it because our adversaries are also continuously looking at new ways to defeat what they know we have.
Kannan Krishnaswamy works at the U.S. Department of Energy's Pacific Northwest National Laboratory. One of its missions is national security, and researchers are behind many of the screening technology in airports today.
The portals that you go through with your hands above your head, that came out of the laboratory. In fact, we lovingly at the laboratory, we call this the PNNL salute.
Those scanners use millimeter wave technology.
That technology, the basic technology, and the basic invention came out in the 1990s. We've had that system or that technology available since the 1990s. Now, there was no real need for commercial deployment or deployment in the airports because airport security at that time was very different.
The initial technology was actually marketed to be used in apparel fitting.
You stand in the portals, get yourself measured so that you have exact body measurements that can be transferred to somebody that's making clothes, and they can fit clothes for you accurately.
Then 9/11 catapulted millimeter wave technology to the forefront of national security.
So that's the older generation of the technology that is currently being sold even today at the airports.
PNNL researchers are constantly working on taking their technologies one step further, and now a second-generation millimeter wave system is close to being deployed.
The way HexWave works is, first of all, it's a walk-through portal, and it uses radio frequency and real-time 3D video rate imaging, so we can determine if an individual has a threat on their body. We've trained it to ignore some of the common benign objects, so you won't have to divest. So your phone, your keys, your belt, wallet, watches, glass cases. We use the AI so we can provide automated decisions to a security operator to process people at speed.
Bill Frayne, the CEO of Liberty Defense, which developed HexWave, says the key differentiator between it and existing technologies is the ability to detect non-metallic threats.
And as you know, the people trying to do and defeat the system to do harm, they're being more creative. They're using 3D plastic guns. They're using liquid explosives. They know that some of these metallic detection systems out there can't detect that.
Liberty has also licensed a shoe scanning technology from PNNL that can be used inside the HexWave or existing body scanners.
Imagine if you didn't have to take your shoes off at the airport. Talk about, passenger experience. That's probably top of the list when we talk to people who are going through the airports.
While this scanning tech is a few years away, the HexWave system will soon be deployed to screen aviation workers who access secure areas of airports. After that, the goal is for it to be used at all security checkpoints, allowing travelers to pass through without breaking stride.
The goal is high level of security and detection capability, but make it so that there's a low false alarm rate so you continue to process the passengers and make it a good experience.
Some other interesting technology coming down the pipeline includes the ability to differentiate between powders and liquids in baggage, and a way to detect explosives in their vapor form so that bomb-sniffing dogs are no longer needed. Caitlin Burke, CBN News, Reagan National Airport.
Thank you, Caitlin. Millions of cameras tracking every person's move. We'll show you where and why when Faith Nation returns. Welcome back. In China, Big Brother is watching. More than 415 million surveillance cameras track the population 24/7. And that's not all. Add digital currency, social security cards, monitored smartphones, and more, and you have what's described as the perfect police state. CBN's George Thomas reports.
In 2013, China's President Xi Jinping said that whoever controls data has the upper hand. Ever since, Xi has been on a technological quest to build what some call a blueprint for a digital dictatorship. It would not only allow China's communist government to control huge volumes of data on its own citizens, but also of those around the world. Dustin Carmack worked as chief of staff for the director of national intelligence.
You're talking, vast amounts of data. They are running between both either covert or overt, cyber attacks and other realms. They are sucking up massive amounts of data around the globe that could have nefarious purposes in the long run.
China has more than 415 million surveillance cameras deployed throughout the country, making its population by far the world's most watched. And now Beijing is using digital currency, social security cards, social credit systems, and online interactions to keep an even closer eye on its citizens.
It is a massive dragnet based on artificial intelligence, facial recognition, voice recognition. These are all novel technologies that the Chinese Communist Party is deploying against its people.
Jeffrey Kane, author of the new book, The Perfect Police State, an undercover odyssey into China's terrifying surveillance dystopia of the future, says the regime first tested this type of surveillance several years ago to monitor Uyghurs, an ethnic Muslim group living in the western part of the country.
It's a place where everything they do from morning to night, from the moment that they eat breakfast or go to the market or go to work, everything is monitored by their smartphones, by government cameras everywhere. There are millions of government cameras in this region. And nothing is private, nothing is secret. Your entire life is exposed.
Kane says his investigation found that those reams of data are fed to a massive police database, and with the help of artificial intelligence, attempts to predict whether or not someone will commit a crime in the future.
But the thing is that the system has gotten out of control because, so I looked at a list of reasons that people can be detained for these pre-crimes. It could be something as simple as, they bought a tent suddenly, or they stopped smoking suddenly. They change their behavior in ways that the system finds odd. And then so it nudges the police. It sends the police a little, on the app, a nudge to, go to this person's house, to their work, to check them out, maybe interrogate them a little bit. And if the situation calls for it, take them away to one of many hundreds of concentration camps.
China is accused of committing genocide against the Uyghurs by holding more than 1 million of them in what Beijing calls re-education camps. The Associated Press gaining exclusive access to one such detention center this summer that allegedly had room enough to hold more than 10,000 prisoners.
When we talk about genocide, it's not just about taking lives, which there's evidence to suggest that's occurring too, but it's to erase a population, an ethnic group, and that's what they're after.
Sophie Richardson with Human Rights Watch says President Xi also wants China to be the global leader in exporting its authoritarian surveillance tech to other like-minded regimes.
So when they've got the kinds of tools that allow them, for example, to track their critics' every movement and control their access, for example, to money or even to buying plane or train tickets, it can make a state exponentially more powerful.
New research from Oxford University and Berlin's Humboldt University uncovered some 1,800 active Chinese surveillance devices across 72 countries, including Venezuela, Kenya, Philippines, and Oman.
China is now using their influence, their money, their technology to facilitate the repression of minorities and individuals in other countries.
China has also deployed censorship devices in 17 other countries, among them Turkey, Cuba, Egypt, and Pakistan, where news and media websites are blocked.
I think the overall effect is to use technology to engineer a very particular kind of dissent-free society, and that's a very frightening concept.
China used these and other tactics to suppress protesters in Hong Kong, then came to Cuba's aid in July by cutting communications after tens of thousands took to the streets protesting the regime.
That type of technology being used to throttle internet traffic flows, or at times in Cuba actually turn off the internet, especially in the early days of some of the protests down there.
Meanwhile, new research shows that technology made by 7 American companies, including IBM, Microsoft, and Oracle, are facilitating China's surveillance of Uyghur Muslims with little to no consequences.
I think that a lot of American companies have been caught with their pants down, frankly, because they spent the past 2 decades warming up to China, looking for market and business opportunities, profit opportunities, and now they've realized that they're making a deal with the devil.
A deal that is handing China a treasure trove of data in its quest for global information superiority and digital control over its citizens and those around the world. George Thomas, CBN News.
All right, thank you, George. With the rise of the machines, the spiritual effects of humanity's increasing dependency on technology. Next. Welcome back. In the last several years, the world has witnessed some of the most rapid developments in technology as people spend more time on their smartphones, computers, or with Alexa or Siri. Where does that leave serving God? Gary Lane looks at the potential spiritual dangers for people of faith who grow increasingly dependent on technology.
We live in a rapidly advancing world, dominated by intelligent computers and high-tech machines. Author Wallace Henley says this could take American society deeper into dangerous territory, a less human world, which replaces the creator with the created.
We have these machines emerging, and people are beginning to worship those machines. There's actually an AI church now. There's another technology specialist who said if this thing can go 1 billion times faster than the human brain, this machine, then the only thing that we can call it is God.
Henley is a Christian Post exclusive columnist and author of the book, Who Will Rule the Coming Gods? Appearing recently on CBN's The Global Lane, Henley suggests an excessive dependency on technology may draw people away from acknowledging and embracing God's supremacy.
Just about the time we're forgetting God, forgetting his transcendent majesty and our accountability to it, we're developing these machines that are taking his place.
A world where machines create a more leisurely and convenient society, but also one lacking accountability and dependency on God. Remember Rosie the robot from the 1960s cartoon The Jetsons?
I may be homely, Buster, but I'm S-M-A-R-T smart.
It's no longer science fiction. Today, less sophisticated robots are being used to vacuum floors, build automobiles, and deliver fast food.
Hello, here's your delivery.
And meet Amazon's Astro, a robot that monitors your home and follows you from room to room. Think of Alexa on wheels.
A robot?
Yes.
What are we going to do with a robot?
I kind of like having information at my fingertips in the palm of my hand, and I look forward to getting a robot someday that will mow my lawn, maybe even fix the plumbing. Anything wrong with that? When should I become morally and spiritually concerned?
There's nothing wrong with that, as long as we understand the utility of it. I'm thankful every time I go to a doctor and they have to probe me, and instead of opening my body and doing exploratory surgery, they can stick something inside of me and find out what's wrong. I like that. That's great. That's much better. But what's dangerous is when we forget that God is enthroned, that we were made for transcendence. The human being is wired for that.
Gospel music executive Marquise Boone shares that concern. He created JC, a computer-generated AI gospel music artist.
If you ever go to pieces, fall between the thunder clouds, I will put you back together. I won't let you down. down.
Boone suggests non-human techno singers like JC can be used to point music fans back to God.
We enjoy personalities, we enjoy their music, but we start to really idolize them. We start to really believe that these people are almost like gods, and that's not the goal of God, is to have us to redirect them only back to Him for worship, not to make it about us.
Henley believes America's founding fathers understood the importance of divine accountability.
They said we're endowed by our Creator with certain unalienable rights. And whenever we don't understand that, then the state becomes dominant and the utility becomes the most important thing.
And he says when that happens, society changes for the worse. The slave era is just one example when human beings were treated as property. Henley believes the mindset is repeating itself in America today. People are being used without fellowship, without the bond that God wants us to have in relationships. He urges us to be on guard and aware of the standing that we give to God and technology in our life.
When we come to giving ourselves so completely, without knowing it, to the machines, we're in dangerous territory. St. Augustine said, the human heart was made by God and for God, and only God can fill it.
Gary Lane, CBN News.
Saying so long to the mailman? Delivery drones changing the face of modern package delivery.
Your news channel. Your shows. The stories you care about. Anytime you want. Anywhere you want. Download the CBN News app today.
Well, imagine ordering takeout and receiving your delivery by drone. That's exactly what's happening in Israel, an extraordinary innovation being called part of the fourth industrial revolution. CBN Middle East Bureau Chief Chris Mitchell has more from Jerusalem.
These drones are completing a special mission as they land in Tel Aviv, delivering sushi from Japanica restaurant some 7 miles away in Herzliya.
You can see multi-drones taking off, doing delivery, coming back, land, finish the delivery process, everything autonomously.
Drones could become the delivery vehicle of the future, even transporting ice cream or anything you want from the restaurant to your home. Alon Abelson is CEO and co-founder of Highlander, a drone and unmanned traffic management solution that helps keep skies safe for this growing technology.
There is no pilot involved, no one is flying the drone, and you still need someone to make sure that the drone flying avoid collide between themselves, landing safely in the right location.
These are among the first commercial drone deliveries in central Israel and the city of Tel Aviv. It's the third of 8 stages expected to reach new heights over the next 2 years. It's being managed from the Ayalon Highways Control Center that's usually overseeing traffic on the ground.
We started from 0 flights 2 years ago, 700 flights in the first year, and now we're close to 9,000 flights.
As part of Israel's Innovation Authority, Daniela Partam leads the Center for the Fourth Industrial Revolution.
Our aim is to enlarge the ecosystem, so add more cities, more urban areas. In order for this to be an economically viable system, we would have to enable larger drones flying longer distances in order to deliver heavier goods to more areas.
Joined by the Civil Aviation Authority and Ayalon Highways, the project is a collaboration between the government and 16 local and international companies. The various companies work together towards solutions in key areas, ranging from air traffic control and flying the drones to deliveries and security. Libby Bahat from the Civil Aviation Authority says he sees opportunities and challenges.
We are a crowded country in terms of aerospace. We have high security needs. These are challenges, but I think we know how to approach them.
Despite the challenges, Eyal Bilia from Ayalon Highways explains why drones are a good and timely idea.
The lower airspace is unused today. So we're trying to open the lower airspace in order to deliver all kinds of goods and deliveries from one place to another. And by that, we're going to reduce traffic.
According to former General Yoeli Or and current CEO of Can-Do Drones, the Israeli military has been using this technology for 10 years.
So we take it from the military side and adapt it
for our needs in the civilian side.
Working along with security and traffic control, Can-Do can manage up to 250 drones at a time.
We connect different drones from different companies, from different missions, to our system, and we control them from one laptop.
The founding members of Airways came from the Israeli Air Force. CEO Eyal Zor explains how these experts in airspace management make it all work.
We are using advanced AI algorithms in order to manage a dynamic airspace of drones. We try to mimic the traditional aviation, like air traffic controllers and pilots, with our system in order to show that we can operate maximum number of drones in a dynamic urban city.
Deliveries are currently limited to between businesses, given the need for a drone landing pad. The order is placed through an app, then prepared, loaded on the drone, flown to the delivery site, collected, and taken to the customer. Daniel Rahamim heads up Meshlocha, one of the most popular and fastest-growing food delivery apps in Israel. Until now, Meshlocha relied on conventional delivery methods like scooters. As a technology company, though, Rahamim says he's always looking to the future.
We don't have any doubt that the next stage will be the drones, because this is the best way, the fast way, the safe way to move things from one side to each other.
Flytech is the aerial operator, and company vice president Yahav Price says the drones can transport a delivery weighing about 4.5 pounds.
This is the first time in Israel you can see this kind of project, which means the first time we fly drones with no eye contact through a computer, like another UAV.
Though the demonstration focused on getting ice cream to waiting journalists, Price says the vision reaches much further than just food delivery.
This is a platform to show that technology is there and safety is there. We want to provide much more important things to our civilians, like big orders, machines, and medicines.
Hospitals and medical facilities could be big winners with these deliveries, receiving life-saving materials quickly with no traffic jams. And consumers in the future will likely benefit in ways we haven't even imagined. Chris Mitchell, CBN News.
Fascinating. Ice cream drone delivery sounds like a potentially dangerous convenience. Thank you so much for watching Faith Nation. Have a great night. See you next time.